Alright, next up we got rootbie versus PBJAM in an odd mirror matchup on Green Acres. So you got rootbie spawning as the gold up on the top side of the map, and we also have PBJAM spawning on the bottom as the blue player. Both players moving to the choke for their Conyard deploy. It's fairly standard. This enables you to crawl outside of here. Interestingly enough, PB's gone for a power plant behind the Conyard. Traditionally you tend to put this here and then put your hand nod here and get a better ref placement. And because they're deploying in the choke, you can get a nice neat ref here. And meanwhile we see rootbie going with the deploy here, getting a power plant hand and nod. This will kind of enable him to get a tight refinery here. Again, players would tend to be more favor of like power plant, hand and nod, get a ref here, build off this for a tight ref against the tib, and you can also crawl forward. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. But let's see how it plays out for the guys. It's PB getting his anti-scouts in positioning. rootbie being a bit more aggressive, trying to get some scouting information. Oh, and he's going to get a flamer through. Oh, and he just paused it because he's busy dealing with macro placement back here. Ouch. Both players on 2 ref as it currently stands. We'll be curious to see what happens next. So rootbie going for a 3rd ref back here. The positioning of this isn't great. You'd like to see this a bit further back and put a power plant to help extend it. And it looks like in the meantime PBJAM is going for the 2 ref strip approach, so expect to see an airstrip popping down pretty soon. There it is. Always useful to put your strip in this kind of position, helps you crawl over towards this tip field. You get like a power plant ref. A bit of an exchange of flamers and minigunners. rootbie's not going to get through here for free. Does take down the flamer with him though. Still waiting for rootbie's strip, and down it goes. Positioned here, it'll actually enable him to get a nice ref against the tip down here. Meanwhile, PBJAM has full vision of the opponent's base nearly, and is doing the classic strategy, blocking the entrance to the ref. Super annoying to deal with. It's delaying your eco. Meanwhile, we see PBJAM has gotten the ref here, and he's continuing to crawl up, whereas rootbie is continuing to crawl down. Positioning a turret here is very good. Turret will help you hold this field if the opponent opts to try and take it for their own eco. They have to deal with the turret firing on the harv. It's also useful to try and keep control of this section of the map. rootbie on 2 turrets now versus the one here from PB. Interesting exchange. rootbie has secured the center more or less at this point. The turrets that PB will be putting up will be quite far down, but he needs to make sure the micro leads to hit the turret, which he's done. This is good. So he's keeping the buggies flowing in. Seeing a power plant cell is interesting from PB. Not sure what that's about. Seeing the turrets here, now actually being able to take down the power plant. This has put PB in a rough position. So we can see rootbie is still on 3 ref. PB's on 3 as well. Not over yet. rootbie has spent a lot on these turrets. The problem here is PB's been smart and not tried to attack into it. It can be very tempting for players when you see your opponent all in one section with tunnel vision and try to charge into it, but like your buggies are going to get ripped apart here. So just staying back and holding him off and hoping he doesn't crawl too far to this ref is really all you can do, but he's already on top here. So he just wants to stay out of range of the turrets but still defend this. Doing a good job. And he gets a turret down here. It's a nice placement. Always useful to tuck in your turrets here behind the gaps in the refinery. Enables you to try and hide it from your opponent, but he is losing the ref here. However, his harvester was not inside of it, so it was a little bit fortunate in that regard. And now PB's going on the counter-attack. So rootbie, having spent so much on static defense, doesn't have any mobile units at this point. And PB is just going to pop in here and try to take out the harvester. And it looks like he's going to get it. Down it goes. Oof. Okay, we're seeing more turrets coming down from rootbie. PBJAM has to be careful, of course, that doesn't want to throw too many units into this. You can see the mass minigunners starting to pop out from rootbie as well. Sort of a panic response to try and help hold and reinforce this. This little group of buggies here is going to get torn apart by the turrets, so I'd probably suggest pulling these back out. Both players still have their Conyard. No one's gone all in. 2 ref down there for PB and 2 ref up here for rootbie. And who's going to make the first move? Okay, another turret going down for rootbie. So rootbie's playing very static defensive heavy. But this suits him fine, because like these buggies won't really be able to attack into this and do enough damage. Rootbie's trying to get the minigunners down here in position to try and attack into the turrets. Infantry can be very effective against turrets. This is super annoying. For those who aren't aware, there is a slight turret range advantage, so bottom turrets can shoot up +1. So you end up in situations like that where you have a turret that can't reach the turret below. These two seem to be able to handle off each other, which is good. So it's a little bit of a stalemate. However, PB has significantly more units in the field. In terms of units killed, 50 to 51, it's very even. rootbie often to send in the minigunners to try to take out this turret. If they can get it, he's going to be happy, and down it goes. So now it's up to PB. He can come in here to get this power plant uncontested. This is going to be a tricky one. He needs to stay this side or else down here and not get hit by the turrets. But all these minigunners mixed in with the buggies, it's going to be next to impossible for rootbie to hold that. And down it goes. Can see here the bugging harvesters once again. It's always a headache to deal with. If your harvesters move from this ref to this ref for any reason, like you're just going to get this consistent problems, and you can see it happening here again. Oh, rootbie, I feel the pain, man. I feel the pain. So we see a few flamers mixed into this bundle, which makes sense because there's a huge amount of minigunners in the field here. So he's on 3 ref. PB now opting to get a couple of bikes into the mix. Bikes will do well against the turrets. Does need to keep them safe from all the infantry, which I'm sure this amount of buggies will be able to do. It's pretty interesting match. Neither player wanting to fully engage at this point. We do see the Conyard cell there from PB, so I suspect he's going to mass out a couple of extra bikes, switch the buggies, and then just charge into rootbie. rootbie meanwhile is dealing with the terrible AI pathing for the harbs. Has managed to get his strip back down. He's opted to put it in this forward position, the front of it being defended by the turrets. So now he's pretty much going to go all out and try and amass infantry and buggies, I would imagine. Here they come, and we're going to have a bit of a a clash here with both players going full head on into each other. rootbie's going to want to stay back and let PB charge into him because he's got the static defense here. He definitely has the home advantage, so he'll not want to try and push out. PB now opting to get a couple of artillery into the mix. It's an interesting choice. 1 or 2 artillery in the back of all this versus this horde of infantry can do serious damage. Can also do pretty effective damage if the units aren't moving too much against even just the plain buggies. And these are more or less going to give him somewhat of the similar benefit to these static turrets because these are in static positions. Oh, but rootbie's engaging here. No! In terms of vision, both players can clearly see what the other has as well. Alright, so PB's going in for it. rootbie needs to just sit back behind the turrets. Don't engage and let all your stuff get sniped. No! No! Damn, that's GG, I think. I think if rootbie just stayed calm, stayed back here, didn't feel the necessity to engage in this, he would have been in a slightly better positioning. And we're going to get the Conyard NG here, almost capping the strip. Mass infantry coming out here now, a bunch of minigunners from PB after he sold his airstrip, just to help reinforce his initial attack wave. Once you get the strip down here, the infantry are going to be able to do very little, especially against mass artillery like this. Oof. Watch out for the flamers! Oh, yeah. At this point, it's game over. Like you can't win with this many units right on top of your hand rod. But it was a well played game for both players. Interesting to see them both being aware of the strengths and weaknesses of each other and holding off on attacking when you see a bunch of static defenses and trying to work around it. I think the thing that really hurt rootbie in this was just lack of patience and coming outside of the safety of his airstrip and turrets. Ooh, barbecue managed to save them. Nice. And as you can see here, final kill count's going to be around 180 to 150. Artillery, of course, going to do some devastating damage to the refinery. And that's going to be GG's. Well played, PB. Well played, PB, indeed.
Battle control terminated.